Omar K. alleges that Christian Combs sexually assaulted her on a yacht in December 2022.
And me. He at that point I was fighting, trying to get away from him.
And once I was in a helpless position and he was sure that he was in a position of power, that he took advantage of the situation.
There are also allegations that Diddy forced these victims to have sex with prostitutes as he touched himself. He called these situations freak-offs, and oftentimes he recorded them. Here's where some of the allegations against his son Justin Combs come in. So all this takes us back to February, when Rodney Jones, also known as the producer Lil Rod, filed civil suit against Diddy. In his lengthy lawsuit, Lil Rod straight name drops Justin Combs, describing him as someone who solicits prostitutes, underage girls, and sex workers. There's actually a picture of Justin Combs with an allegedly underage girl shown in the lawsuit. Now, in this specific instance, Lil Rod alleges at least one underage girl came to Diddy's home for a listening party. A sex worker was also apparently solicited, and a freak-off ensued. As an aside, this is the same night that Lil Rod alleges Diddy forced him to take a laced shot. He started to feel lightheaded and then woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, naked next to a sex worker. It's important to note Justin Combs is listed as a defendant on this case because, according to Lil Rod, he facilitated Diddy's alleged RICO enterprise and at times participated. Civil suit points to more accusations against Justin Combs too, for his involvement in an alleged shooting cover-up. According to court documents, it happened on September 12, 2022, outside Diddy's Chalice Studios. Lil Rod says Diddy, his son Justin, and Justin's friend who went by G were all there when things got heated. Lil Rod says he heard multiple gunshots ring out and later found G on the bathroom floor in the fetal position. Lil Rod says he was bleeding out of his hip and leg area. Lil Rod says he was applying pressure to G's wounds and then asked the crowd to call an ambulance. At that point, both Diddy and Justin Combs disappeared to another part of the studio. Diddy then gave strict instructions to inform the police that he had nothing to do with the shooting. He also forced Mr. Jones to lie to the police by telling them that G was shot standing outside the studio by a drive-by assailant. So that specific allegation involves Diddy's son Justin, but another allegation and entirely separate civil lawsuit involves his other son Christian, or King Combs. Grace Omar K. alleges that Christian Combs sexually assaulted her on a yacht in December 2022. And she says,
this time around, Diddy was brought in first. He was brought in about a couple minutes after 2 p.m. today. And we were all kind of waiting to see. We had heard mumblings that his mom might be in courtroom, that we were waiting for the children, but then nothing happened. But then, in another twist and turn, the children do walk in. But this time it was a lot smaller bunch than it was the last time. So last time you're having all of Diddy's children, except with the exception of Love, who is just a 2-year-old child. So she wasn't at court. But you had all of Diddy's children there except Love. But this time around, you just had Justin Combs and Christian Combs, meaning that there was no Quincy there today. Delilah and Jesse weren't there. Chance wasn't there. And the caretakers of his younger children who aren't of age just yet, they were not present inside the courtroom as well today. But his mom also wasn't in court today. So when Diddy came inside, it was still that standard issued MDC jumpsuit. He's wearing khaki. From that video of, I think that was obtained by Daily Mail back in September, of Diddy playing hacky sack in Central Park, to now he appeared just astonishingly thinner, which you can expect to be inside a federal detention center for a couple months now. A lot different from the luxury lifestyle that he was living before, but he appeared very noticeably thinner. And
The courthouse is surrounded by media and onlookers, creating a chaotic atmosphere. Reporters scramble to capture updates, their cameras flashing as they try to get any information. Protesters gather outside, holding signs demanding justice for the alleged victim. The crowd buzzes with anticipation, their attention fixed on the trial. Every glance, every movement is closely watched, amplifying the tension.
He owns the rights to a book that was reportedly based on the alleged memoir of Kim Porter. In fact, according to TMZ, Burgess' phone was seized by the feds, and on it was a copy of a flash drive with material that was used in this book. Here's the problem. Christian and Quincy Combs, these are the sons of Diddy and Kim Porter. Quincy's actually adopted by Diddy. But they are reportedly fighting back, and they have sent Burgess a cease and desist letter to prevent the further sale of this book. They argue this is just an attempt to capitalize on Porter's fame and that they own the rights to her IP, her intellectual property, like her diary entries, her potential manuscript. As her heirs, they own it. And they also want an accounting of current sales of the book. To be clear, though, they aren't acknowledging that there is, in fact, a long-lost memoir from their mother. In fact, they've actually denied that before when there was a similar book, a derivative work, we'll talk about that, published by this guy named Chris Todd on Amazon. They were adamantly fighting against that. They said that their mother wouldn't write this. But what they're basically saying is if something should exist, they...
Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere is tense and quiet. Everyone sits silently, waiting for the trial to begin. The judge prepares to take the stand, while lawyers and witnesses remain still, their expressions serious. The air feels heavy with anticipation, as though everyone is holding their breath, waiting for what's to come.
And those statements include descriptions of what the witness says he saw on those tapes. So I asked him about that, and he answered what he could, given the limitations imposed on him after testifying before the grand jury. Out of those 8 videos, 8 celebrities, 6 men and 2 women, how many of those 8 celebrities were close to being underage or potentially underage?
2 males.
2 males. And of those 8 celebrities, how many of them were intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
This is going to be all speculation. I just want to preface it by he wouldn't know if they were. Right.
Sure.
Appear to
Let
be.
me rephrase
Right.
it.
Based on, yes.
Understand. Out of the 8 celebrities who were recorded having intimate relations with Sean Combs, how many of them appeared to be either inebriated or intoxicated or under the influence?
All of them. All of them.
Out of those 8, how many appear to be potentially victimized? How many might have been victimizing?
I think all, to be honest, all.
Were victims
They
or
victims.
were perpetrating?
Victims.
They were, all 8 were victimized,
Yeah.
meaning this was happening to them and they were inebriated.
Right. Not knowing, I guess, how much proof it was in it, but they was doing it.
Diddy's son sits visibly frustrated, shifting uncomfortably in his seat. His expression reflects deep unease, and he glances around nervously, struggling to contain his emotions. The tension in the room seems to settle around him, amplifying his discomfort.
Nickname, Freaky Man. I look at his kids and everything. It's more deeper questions that I be wanting to know, like, why were you so infatuated with a child that wasn't yours? Were you grooming that little boy? I don't even want to start those conversations, because that's not your child. You know what I'm saying? And for you to keep him that close, it's like you kept him that close because he might got your secrets, because he's not your child. So if he's not your child and you that type of person with that type of character, you don't mind actually doing it to him when he finally reaches a certain age, because he's not yours. And you know in your mind he's not yours. And now you keep him real close to you. You make sure he don't go to his daddy. Why? You make sure he's separated with him, and you provide him with everything he wants. Why? You got one of them little Michael Jackson secrets. He got one of them secrets that he can't tell nobody, because his legacy, I mean, his manhood gonna be, and not only that, his brother no gonna look at him crazy. Only Puffy know, only God and Puffy.
About Quincy, right?
I don't know. All I'm gonna say is, I I don't know.
I'll be short, son?
All I'm gonna say is, who's infatuated with another man's son now? Like that. Like you, that seemed like grooming.
A witness takes the stand, delivering emotional testimony. Their voice is slightly muffled to protect their identity, but the courtroom listens intently. Diddy's son looks down, avoiding their gaze. The silence is thick, and everyone focuses on the witness's powerful words.
You should always advocate for yourself and be a voice for yourself. You should never let what somebody else did run your life.
A 38-year-old mother from Alabama who has filed a lawsuit accusing Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z of raping her when she was 13 years old is speaking out to NBC News for the first time. She asked us not to reveal her identity.
What made you want to come forward and talk today?
Because I think that I've been quiet long enough about what I've been through, and it's been hard enough to be quiet. But it's a chapter of my life that I'd like to close.
You weren't scared to be all alone?
No, with having autism is like feeling like you live your life in a shatterproof juggle ball. The world's on fire. The fire is inside the ball with you, but there's no way for you to get out.
In addition to having autism, the woman says she suffered a head injury. The night of the 2000s VMAs, she says a friend drove her from Rochester, New York to Manhattan, a more than 5-hour drive. Her attorney provided NBC News with the name of the friend who has since died. The woman says she spoke to Combs' limo driver who offered her a ride to an after party.
I stumbled upon Diddy's driver who told me that I was exactly what Diddy was looking for.
What did you think when he said that to you?
I thought it meant that I was just pretty.
She went to a White House, she says, where she spoke to musicians Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo because, I have about his tattoo that's the Last Supper because I have a religious background. So it was just something to talk about.
At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter took turns raping her while a female celebrity watched.
JC comes in and rapes me. He at that point I was fighting, trying to get away from him, and he put his hand over my mouth and told me to stop it, cut the.
After the alleged rape, she says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where.
Suddenly, Diddy's son stands up and walks out of the courtroom. His expression is tense, and his frustration is visible. The courtroom watches in stunned silence, unsure of what has just happened. His departure leaves the room filled with questions.
Really painful, and he was acting like it was nothing.
Yes, he sat in the dark, but he brought into the light some very disturbing allegations against Diddy.
I was screaming. I was telling him to stop.
More than 24 accusers have filed suit against the still imprisoned rap mogul. But this man is the very first to do an on-camera interview, telling his chilling story to CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister.
It was abusive beyond belief.
The man, identified only as John Doe, says he was hired by a security firm to work at one of Sean Combs' famous white parties in the Hamptons.
Hey, yo, what's up, yo? It's your boy Diddy.
At first, he was incredibly friendly, very gracious.
But the accuser's lawsuit, obtained by Extra, claims that Combs targeted him, providing him with drinks throughout the night.
This didn't come from staff or someone holding a tray of drinks. It came from him directly.
Correct. The first drink started to have some effect on me, and I just thought, wow, these are really strong drinks. It wasn't until the second drink, and it was already too late, that I realized that there was something wrong with the drink.
In the suit filed in October, The man claims Diddy pushed him into a van, held him down, and sexually assaulted him. He says he could not escape because he had been drugged.
Sean Combs was waiting in the wings. He was watching from some sort of vantage point. And once I was in a helpless position and he was sure that he was in a position of power, then he took advantage of the situation.
After Diddy's son exits, whispers ripple through the courtroom. People exchange glances, their faces showing confusion and speculation. No one seems to know why he left, and the atmosphere grows even more uncertain.
The latest woman to speak out against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is from Harris County.
Yeah, our Rekha Mudaraj is here with more on the lawsuit that was filed yesterday. Rekha?
Len and Mia, these are the latest accusations against Sean Combs, and it comes about a week after Combs was indicted on federal charges alleging he used his business empire as a criminal enterprise. Now, yesterday, high-powered attorney Gloria Allred appeared with her client. This is Talia Graves, a Harris County resident who filed a lawsuit against Combs in New York. We are using her name because she has gone public with her claims. Now, in the lawsuit, Graves alleges back in 2001, when she was 25 years old, Combs and his head of security lured her into a meeting at a New York City recording studio where they gave her a drink that caused her to briefly lose consciousness. When she woke up, Graves says she was bound and restrained and was violently raped by Combs. The lawsuit filed Tuesday also claims the alleged assault was recorded and that the video was shown to multiple other men. Graves says she also faced multiple threats that made her stay silent for decades.
The violation I have experienced during the assault has had lasting effects on my body, causing ongoing health problems and complications. The combination of physical and emotional pain has created a cycle of suffering from which it is so hard to break free. I want to continue on this journey towards recovery and healing. I'm glad that he is locked up, but that's a temporary feeling of relief.
54-year-old Combs is in jail facing federal charges, including sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He was denied bail twice after pleading not guilty.
Diddy's son is escorted outside by security, while reporters swarm, shouting questions. He remains silent, walking away without acknowledging them. The media frenzy continues behind him as he disappears from view.
Busby say about Jay-Z, the artist, the businessman? Well, the complaint begins. Defendant Sean Combs, along with his longtime friend and collaborator, Sean Carter, drugged and raped a 13-year-old girl at an after-party following the 2000 Video Music Awards. Another celebrity stood by and watched as Combs and Carter took turns assaulting the minor. Many others were present at the after-party but did nothing to stop the assault. Combs had been allowed for years to conduct himself in this manner without any consequences. He believes he is above the law. He is not. His close friend Sean Carter has been with Combs during many such instances described herein. Both perpetrators must face justice. So that seems to suggest that Sean Carter, Jay-Z, was not only present or participated in this alleged, what is essentially a crime, but for other instances. And that's really interesting. That's why I bring up this idea of, could he be hit with more lawsuits if you take these allegations as true? Now, the complaint goes on to say, Combs and Carter were not simply occasional collaborators in the music industry. The two men developed a close friendship that has been well documented from the late 1990s to the present. Together, they attended countless music industry events, events for each other's business ventures, parties, and after parties. Indeed, the two are apparently so close that Combs stated in 2023 that Carter is the only person, other than Combs' mother, who is allowed to call him by his legal first name of Sean. In 2000, near the height of their fame, power, and influence, Combs and Carter attended the 2000 Video Music Awards in New York City. Afterwards, Combs hosted an after-party for many of the most famous celebrities in the music and entertainment industries, including Carter, which is where the events alleged in this complaint occurred. I should also say that Busby also used this complaint to address an alleged harassment campaign that he claims Jay-Z started after Busby reached out about his involvement in the suit. The complaint reads, Carter was identified in plaintiff's original complaint as Celebrity A. Prior to the filing of this amended complaint, Carter received a letter from plaintiff's counsel requesting a mediation to resolve this matter. Upon present information and belief, Jay-Z responded to said letter by not only filing an utterly frivolous lawsuit, the one that I mentioned before, but by also orchestrating a conspiracy of harassment, bullying, and intimidation against plaintiffs' lawyers, their families, employees, and former associates in an attempt to silence plaintiff from naming Jay-Z herein. This effort was meant to scare plaintiff and to discredit her counsel. That effort failed. Indeed, plaintiff chose to file this amendment as a result of the egregious conduct perpetuated.
Outside the courthouse, supporters and protesters have gathered in equal numbers. The atmosphere is tense, with shouts and chants echoing from both sides. Signs reflect the divided public opinion, showing messages of support for either Diddy or the alleged victim.
Nobody came out defending Diddy. All these celebrity friends he have, and nobody came out.
They brand. It's all about the money. They saw what he did to Cassie. With the kicking, the punching. They saw what they did to Cassie. They know that nobody in America liked that. So now, these people are represented by a brand. Whether it's something about the music, clothing, movies. They're not gonna come out and speak on nothing that has anything to do with them. And they praying that they not on the tape doing crazy stuff, being oiled up in the whole 9 yards. They praying. So until the feds say, hey, yo, listen here. We got you on, hey, buddy, we got you on this tape, and girl looked like she was pretty young. We're not gonna show it, but we need you to come and testify against Brother Love, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, you know, Sean Combs. That's when they're gonna start talking. And they're not gonna be talking in his favor. When the feds come to them and show them what they got on tape, because if he had 250 tapes all over, 250 cameras all over the house, somebody got caught stealing a cookie out the cookie jar. It could be your favorite pastor. It could be your favorite politician. But they didn't think they was being watched. And Brother Love was watching.
Yeah, I mean, T.D. Jakes, he haven't even came out and said anything. And him and Diddy was real cool.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, man. And I know the people in the congregation over there is shaking in their boots because this man then led them probably, allegedly probably led them to damnation because those people's hearts are going to be broken if that man is seen on those tapes doing anything. Because people always put their faith in the pastor instead of putting their faith in God. And what they need to do is understand that he's just a man. And he has a history. It's not looking too good for him.
So you feel like celebs are worried that they might be on tape?
Oh, they know. That's why they ain't speaking up or saying nothing. Yeah, I was at a Diddy party, but I know I ain't do nothing. When you don't know somebody's taping you, when you don't know that somebody is videoing you in some kind of form or fashion, you got that alcohol, you got the drugs in you, they're a little loose, bruh. They let down all their inhibitions. The music is pumping. He said it himself. He got it so hot in there that you got to take your clothes off. He said,
Footage of Diddy and his family from past events shows a time when they appeared united and strong. Now, that image feels distant, replaced by growing public scrutiny and uncertainty.
People in these lawsuits, we're not going to do it in interviews, we're not going to do it
without doing our due diligence, because obviously, these types of allegations are very hurtful to people if they're not true, and very hurtful, frankly, if they are true. But if they're true, you shouldn't have been in the room and you shouldn't have been participating. So I anticipate that we're going to start filing lawsuits, and it may not be big names at first, but we have a long list of names, and you might imagine in situations like this, that when a victim tells us that this person was in the room or this person participated, we want to do as much due diligence as humanly possible before we file that case, because in the United States, in almost every state, public filings are in fact public. And, when you name somebody in a lawsuit, the press is going to pick it up, and we're aware of that. So we're going to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's. And I expect that there will be some people named in these lawsuits that will raise some eyebrows.
Another instance, another minor, told allegedly by Sean Combs that he would make him a star, but he needed to visit with him in private about it, away from his parents. Once they were in a private area, allegedly Mr. Combs made the victim perform oral sex upon him. Another incident, an individual 15 years old at the time, flown to New York City to attend a party, was drugged, and then taken into a private room, allegedly in the presence of Mr. Combs, where this female individual, minor, was raped, and then other individuals took turns raping her. Another individual, 26 at the time of the occurrence, was picked up allegedly by Mr. Combs and several other people in a black SUV from the airport, was given one drink in the SUV, and then literally woke up the next day not knowing what had happened, but with pain and damage to both her vagina and her anus, where she then went to the hospital. She was missing her underwear and her shoes. Another instance, an individual, this time not a minor, attended a group dinner, allegedly with Sean Combs in Miami. She wasn't drinking because she was pregnant, but whatever she drank at the table, apparently, at least according to her, was laced with something. She blacked out, and she woke up in the same bed, again, allegedly, with Mr. Combs in his mansion in Miami. Her vagina and her anus were...
Legal experts gather outside, offering their thoughts on the day's events. Some believe the fallout could be severe for Diddy and his family, while others remain hopeful the case will turn out differently.
Alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs, that civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was sexually assaulted by both men at a Video Music Awards after party in 2000. In a blistering statement, Jay-Z accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree?" He added, "My only heartbreak is for my family. My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will see the press and ask questions about the nature of these claims and explain the cruelty and greed of people." Joining us now, Joey Jackson, CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. There's a lot to unpack here. Joey, I want to start with just the statement from Jay-Z, which is so forceful in its denial. I just read a teeny part of it. It's long. Where he says that they should file a criminal complaint. Is that even possible at this point?
So based on the allegations, Jessica, good morning, good to see you. I think that it certainly could be. Why do I say that? Now, he, of course, is more than annoyed, would be an understatement. Yeah. He has a family and he has a lot to protect, including his brand. But to the extent that he's saying, hey, come after me criminally, that could be likely. Why do I say that? Because rape in New York, and what's alleged in this complaint, is forcible compulsion. What that means in English is that it's saying that he held her down, raped her, her, and that, of course, the allegation is that Mr. Combs did the same thing. And so if those facts are actually accurate, it would require an investigation by prosecutors, and if true, right, you could pursue it criminally. Now, with respect to evidentiary value, yes, it happened 24 years ago, right, more than 24 years ago, but in the allegations, there's a few things. Number one, there's allegation that another celebrity was present at the time, right?
A courtroom sketch captures the pivotal moment when Diddy's son stormed out. The detailed drawing reflects the intensity of the scene and serves as a visual representation of a crucial turning point in the trial.
For a dime from him. It's not everything is motivated by money, and I'm sorry that he feels that it is.
This woman also told us on camera last week that this isn't about money.
Well, let's be serious. A lawyer like this is not sending out these letters not to make money. He wants money and fame. He doesn't care about truth and justice. And that's what's going on here.
Chloe Malas joins us in studio. So, Chloe, explain this to me. The attorney for the plaintiffs, Tony Busby, right? He is sticking by his client even though you've been able to report these inconsistencies and they are now out there in the public?
Yes, and because of our exclusive report here on Top Story, he's actually going to have Jane Doe do a polygraph test. He says he hasn't done it yet, but that they are going to be doing it this week. He also said in a statement to us moments ago that their conduct throughout all of this has been beyond reproach and will continue to be, even though that's not what you're hearing Alex Spiro, Jay-Z's attorney, what he's saying. Also, I just want to show you, Jay-Z's team created a timeline. Obviously, even though this took place allegedly 24 years ago, right? They are saying that there is just no way that he could have been at the VMAs. He's on camera there until the end of the VMAs, which ended right after 11, and that there are photographs of him at the Lotus Club in Manhattan, and they say he was there till 3 a.m., and then he went to the music studio. So, again, they are adamant that
that he was not at that party.
That he was not at any sort of after party.
I do want to ask you this. What is Jay-Z's sort of legal team strategy in describing the relationship between Diddy and Jay-Z? Because there are a ton of photos of them over the years, obviously before these allegations came out.
And this civil suit, Tom, originally just named Combs, and then it was amended last weekend to include Jay-Z. What Alex Spiro said to me today is that although publicly Jay-Z supported Diddy, they were not best friends. They were not as close as you thought that they were. So in terms of knowledge of what went on allegedly at these white parties and what took place allegedly in these civil suits and the criminal charge and the trial, he says Jay-Z has no knowledge of any of that. Again, he publicly supported him as a fellow musician and someone where they came up together in the industry, but that they weren't as close as you thought.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the...
As the evening sets in, the courthouse grows quiet, the day's tension still lingering. People remain on edge, unsure of what the future holds.
Two, there's the claim by the victim, right, that she left, that she went and she was seen by a gas attendant who saw her in distress. Number three, that she phone called her dad who showed up, the 13-year-old, and now removed her. So civil complaint, simply allegations, needs to be proven in a court of law, but if true, it could rise to the level of criminality, and, we'll see what happens or if the DA looks and investigates.
So what happens now?
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint. And in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal process. Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact-finding, right? Before that, just briefly, there was a demand letter sent. And a demand letter is a letter being sent by a lawyer saying, hey, I don't have to sue you. We can sit, we can mediate it. If we reach an agreement, it never sees the light of day. Jay-Z saying, I don't care about your demand letter. I look at it as blackmail. You want to sue me, sue me. You want to look at it criminally, look at it criminally, but it'll go through the fact-finding process. If a trial is necessary to determine the facts, that's what will happen, but it'll be deemed civil. No indication at this point as to whether or not any criminal investigation will ensue as a result of this.
Yeah, and Jay-Z came back incredibly forcefully against these allegations and really singled out that attorney as well for being, I'm paraphrasing here, but greedy, saying saying he's out to get money and calling that letter essentially blackmail.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Jessica, also suing the attorney, saying he's intimidating him, harassing him, etc. Now, demand letters are not new. What lawyers do is they send them out as a matter of protocol and practice so that you can expedite the process. At the same time, there's certain ethical standards that you have to use, and you have to have a good faith factual belief that this is true. Now, you can argue this complaint was filed in October, right? Could have mentioned Jay-Z then. You didn't. Why? It was amended now to include him. Are the factual assertions true? Are they fact or fiction? Is it a money grab or not? All of that will be litigated in a court of law, but according to Jay-Z, this never happened, is pure fiction. It is a money grab, and he's fighting for his name, reputation, and certainly innocence and justice in his view, which is he didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, and you touch on a point, too, that I wanted to ask you about, which was that this was an amendment to this already existing lawsuit. What are people to take away from that? The fact that they're coming back and adding to this now with this specific name?
Yeah, Jessica, so it depends. That's also common. You could amend lawsuits, right, as a matter of course, and you do, to include certain factual allegations. The interesting thing to me in terms of your question and the takeaway, if you had this information about Jay-Z, it happened allegedly in September of 2000, why not include it in the original complaint? What happened between October and now that necessitated you putting in, and it's a question of credibility. Was he celebrity A, right, as was noted in the October complaint? Is this pure fiction? And what's interesting in the complaint is he really, that is the lawyer, tries to tie Jay-Z to Mr. Combs in so many ways, right? Birds of a feather is the argument that he's making. You can make that argument. You need the facts to sustain it.
Media continues to gather outside the courthouse, refusing to let the story fade. Reporters, supporters, and protesters remain, all waiting for any new developments. The case continues to dominate the headlines, with no clear resolution in sight.